going. All right. You got your water?
I do.
Okay, hey, it's Gene Gallen here with the Chatham Journal and Chatham Chapter. I've got Miss Frances Wilson. We're doing a live stream this morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, well, 8:05. And she's been kind enough to come down here. We're going to talk about the Mathiesen Clinic.
Mathiesen.
Mathiesen. See, I knew I was going to get it wrong.
You ain't from around here, are you?
No, I'm not. But I've enjoyed being down here. I've been here since '86.
Oh, wow.
And no, I'm not one of those darn Yankees who said, hey, we did things better from where I came from. So folks don't have to worry about it. You've got a long history with this place, don't you?
I do. Yeah, I was born here.
You were born here.
1954. I have.
Do you really want to tell people when you were born?
I don't care. Hey, I'm thankful. Every day is a good day.
That's right. Okay, so we've got a birth certificate. And take a look at it right there. And it gives your father's full name, which was
Rex Thomas.
Okay,
Lawrence.
Rex Thomas, birthplace Chatham County, November 25th. What sign is that?
You're asking me?
Oh, I don't know. I was born November 1st, so I'm one of those Scorpio types, I guess. When I was single, that was a big thing. Mother's maiden name was?
Erlene Bowling Gunter.
Gunter, all right. And it says birthplace Durham, North Carolina. Why is? Oh, that's where your mom was born.
Yes, where my mom was born. Actually, in a little area called Lowe's Grove.
Okay.
Which is near the intersection of Highway 54 and 55 in Durham.
I'm very familiar with that area, and there's like a whole bunch of swampland back in there, but that's been really developed. I mean, it's all businesses now, pretty much.
And the little house, I've seen the little house that she was born in, was by that railroad track.
Okay, and it's still there? It's gone. All right.
There's a shopping center in it.
And residence at time child was born was in Apex?
Yes, we were on Route 3 Apex, which was on Holland's Chapel Church Road.
All right, Holland's Chapel Church, and then weight at birth, and again, I'm not familiar with large weights, low weights, but it says you were 7 pounds, 12 ounces, and you were 90 inches, so that would be...
Not 90 inches. But
is that not what it says?
It probably says that.
Or is that 20 inches?
I think it's 20.
Oh, 20 inches. Yes. 90.
I'm not even 90 inches now.
90 inches. Holy cow. You can't believe everything you read. But no, it does say 20 inches. I'm sorry. I was trying to give you... And boy, look at her little feet. They're so cute. Hey there. Good morning. I'm saying a lot. I should go back to Postmasters. And you've got a little gold seal. So does that mean like part of your permanent record?
Official.
All right. So this is what a birth certificate looks. I'm just going to make sure that everybody can see. So I'm going to back up in there. There you go. And you're able to say, hey, thanks for watching. We already have a couple of people watching. Linda Tucker Wardford's watching.
That's my friend. Good morning.
Rekka Matthews is watching. Johnson is watching as well. So, hey, guys, thank you very much. And there's the certificate. Now, I don't know if I should be showing this. Somebody might want to create a phantom account.
Hey.
But you know what? Don't mess with Frances because she will hurt you because she used to collect taxes.
Right here in this building, as a matter of fact.
In this building. Used to collect taxes in this building or taxes from this building.
Well, it was both.
Both?
Because one of the former owners failed to pay their property taxes, and so by law, if someone fails to pay, then I can go and get the rents.
Oh, so did you kind of set up here and just take people's rents?
I just walked in and served all of the tenants with notices, and then they had to pay me as tax collector for rents to pay off the tax bill.
All right, and when they paid off your tax, did that end well? Or do we want to start from the beginning when you were born here?
Oh,
why don't we start with your parents? Do you know how your parents met?
Yes, I do. At a baseball game.
Okay.
In Chatham County on 751 at Holly Kelly's store. If you know where Holly Kelly's store is.
Is that on the corner of 751 or is it kind of in the middle?
Yes, it's an old building now. It's got lots of decorative items attached to the building. And it's right there near the Apex Nurseries.
Yes, okay.
At the corner of Holland's Chapel Church Road and 751. Across the street from the store was a ball field. and that's where my mom and dad met.
Now, was this rec league ball, or I know there were some semi-pro type of teams in the county.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't recall what Mom might have said about, that. I think it was just.
Did she tell you how Dad came up to her, or he didn't come up to her? Who was he shy? Was he like?
I think he was a little bit shy, and I think one of her friends said he wants to go out with you. So, and so that was Mom's best friend, Faye, was her name, and she and her husband and Mom and Dad had a double wedding ceremony in Lowe's Grove at the Lowe's Grove Baptist Church.
All right.
And it just so happened that there had been a wedding in the church earlier that day, and all the flowers were left behind, so Mom and Dad and Faye and her husband Earl didn't have to buy any decorations.
I was going to say that's fantastic, because you know how much it costs to rent a venue these days for a wedding? Holy cow. Well, let me ask you this. How did they decide to name you Francis?
That was after my grandmother.
Okay.
And
Get to
on
meet
here
your
you can
grandmother?
see is Naomi Francis. So
Okay.
I was also named after both of my grandmothers. Naomi was my dad's mother,
All right.
and Francis was for my mom.
All right. Again, being someone who came to this county and moved down south, there seems to be a propensity of using the middle name as your first name instead of your first name as your middle name. So why did you have a choice, or did your mom and dad just call you Francis?
No, Mom and Dad just decided that they were not going to call me Naomi because they says, oh, somebody will shorten it and just call her Omi.
Oh, okay.
So they just decided to call me by my middle name.
Now, you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to, but when your mom and dad got mad at you, did they use all three names?
No.
No.
But I just knew by the tone of their voice. More my mom's than my dad's, though.
Oh, gosh, you're lucky, because my mom would do the first, middle, and last name, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I am in trouble. So, but you probably didn't get into a lot of trouble because you were a fantastic kid.
Yeah, I hid most of my stuff.
Oh, you hid more. Do you want to share what the
No.
worst? Okay, that's beyond the scope of this conversation.
Yes.
So you were born in '54,
Right.
but you also brought another thing. You had texted me yesterday that you had a pill bottle.
Yeah.
Okay. So this pill bottle, it wasn't your pill bottle.
No, it was for my dad.
And this was in 1963, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, it says what 320.
22.
Yeah, because I was, I said you were 90. She was 90 inches long. People are gonna make fun of me forever. This is glass, okay, and this is not a child safety cap, and you still survived since 1954 with this.
Yes.
So I'm
And
gonna.
it's funny that there is no description of what kind of medication is in it. So.
There's no description. Here's the bottle, Pittsburgh. Here's a telephone. We're going to talk about the telephone number in just a second. And Mr. Rex Lawrence, and then it has no description of the product. And we're going to show it. I'm sorry. We got two cameras going here. I showed it on one camera, and we're going to show it on another camera so folks can see that. Let me ask you about the phone number. When I was growing up, I'm old enough that when I was growing up as a kid, my mom and dad used to refer to our phone number as Oregon. So it was OR instead of 67. This says KL2. So is that how you used to...
And it was KI.
KI. I cannot trust anything I read. So it's KI. So that's how and back in those days you had the rotary numbers,
Right.
so there was the K and then there was the I. Yeah, they were two separate little
Right.
rotary things. Kids, if you don't know what a rotary phone is, just Google it and you'll see a little picture of it. Then you'll know that we have to go with that, because every time you put and roll, you have to wait for it to come back before you go. Did you have a party line?
Oh, yes.
You did?
Yes.
Were you one of those kids that like to listen to it on the party line, and your parents say, Francis, don't do that?
I plead.
It's beyond the scope of this conversation. This is interesting. I'm glad we got Francis out here today. I appreciate her doing this. Okay, so you did have a party line. Kids, if you don't know what a party line is, just Google it. Okay, so 54, you were born here. What were your experiences? Because I have heard there was a reunion here on Mother's Day, and I think we had about 90 people lined up here. We got a picture of them. I'll let you know where we are with that right now. I actually been talking with Greg Stafford. We've got the picture digital file ready. We're just trying to find a printer that can do the best job at enlarging it so that it looks good on the wall. And Greg Stafford's wife has got the folks' names, so there'll be a list of names who attended and were in the picture. I don't know if we'll be able to identify you by row, but there should be a list of names there. And you were there for that as well, weren't you?
No, I was not.
You doing? Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
I was out of town.
She was out of town, but she's making up for it because no one else is getting this special treatment.
Right. Yeah. My brothers and I, all three born here.
Okay.
And we were in Florida with my mom, so we were just not able to be here, but we were really disappointed. So thank you for taking this time to do this morning.
Well, I appreciate doing this. When we did a print version of the Chatham Journal, I used to stop by the tax office and get the print out of all the property transfers. And that was probably one of the most popular parts of the paper because everybody wanted to know who was selling what to whom for how much money.
Right.
And we've seen an explosion in that right now. When you were born, and we can't go in because I don't have access to the clinic today. First floor, second floor, can you describe the layout? Or?
Yeah, as we're sitting here, and this door was the reception area where you'd go in and register at the desk, which is behind this window.
All right.
And then just wait your turn, or you can wait in the hallway. And many times that's where we would end up sitting. It was like a wooden bench type thing that was there, and so you get to see all the nurses running up and down the hallway if you sat there. And there was one particular nurse, Mrs. Ruth Mann, and she was just a great nurse, beautiful person. And what intrigued me so about her was every time she'd walk past the water fountain, she'd always take a sip of water. But I guess it kept her refreshed during the day. And like at 3 o'clock this morning, I'm thinking about, things that I remembered most about this place. And of course the elevator, you open the big outside door and then you have that other door.
Yeah, that little, well, it's not
it's
little.
like a scissor
heavy,
door.
Yeah,
or something, and you had to pull that too, or else it wouldn't even run. Because it was a safety mechanism, I think.
Now, I haven't had a chance to look inside of that because they will not be able to reactivate that elevator because of safety concerns as well as code concerns. I mean, the elevator will stay here, but I think it will probably be locked. Was that deep enough to bring in a gurney or somebody, or was it just?
I'm assuming that it was, yes.
Because it was actually what, wasn't it the first elevator in
It
Pittsburgh?
was. That's my understanding that it was.
And there's a bug trying to get in this interview with us.
Another thing that I remember is, I guess I was 4 or 5 years old, and I had a tooth that needed to be extracted. And
Wait a minute, you needed a tooth?
I needed a tooth extracted.
Okay.
And Dr. Lowell Williams was my dentist, and his office was located in the small office beside the Red Moose Brewery.
All right, let's open that away.
So Mom took me to the dentist, and I threw a fit. I was screaming, fighting. I did not want that doctor to pull my tooth. So the only other option was to bring me to Mathiesen Clinic, to the surgery room, and put me to sleep so he could pull my tooth.
Did you have any previous problems with going to the dentist? Was it just you didn't want your teeth
I just
pulled?
didn't want it pulled. I was petrified.
Right.
A young kid, and I don't know.
Can I ask which tooth it was?
I don't remember.
Oh, that's right. She was asleep while this happened. So anyway, they brought you here to the clinic.
They brought me here after hours. I remember it was after Mom got off work, and I remember it being dark, so it had to have been probably 7 or 8 o'clock at night at least. And pulled my tooth, and I went home, and it's okay after that.
Now, did the doctor pull your tooth or
No,
your dentist?
Dr. Williams came over.
Oh, he did,
He
okay.
used the operating room.
So you might have been his hardest patient ever.
Difficult.
He probably, oh my gosh, Frances Wilson, I hope she never has to have another tooth pulled.
Oh, I've had a few pulled.
Yeah, but
since
you
then,
didn't have that.
Not here.
Okay, just one here. one of the things during the reunion, a lot of people talk about, yes, we were born here, but we also went here for our health care. This was pretty much the primary and only hospital in Pittsburgh, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
And, you know, people came here a lot because Dr. Mathiesen did an asthma treatment.
Oh, that's right. And didn't some famous people come
Yes,
down here
it
to
was
have their
the
asthma?
son of, what, Cisco Kid?
Yes, and if you don't know who the Cisco's kid is, Google it.
Even one of my relatives was treated for asthma.
Okay. What was it several days? Was it did they give us some medication?
I think it was probably a few treatments. I don't know exactly how many.
Okay.
But I've often wondered, you know, what it was that he treated people with that, you know, seemed to have cured a lot of people from their asthma treatment.
Right. What was the doctor like? 'Cause the thing that I got from the reunion is people were happy. Their memories of being, well, they didn't remember when they were born here, but from the time that they were born here and their interaction here at the hospital, for the most part, even though you might have to come here because you had some injury or something else or some health concern, people seem to be happy with the care they got.
Oh, I think so. He could be a little gruff around the edges, so to speak, Dr. Mathiesen, but he was a very good doctor. And, you know, even when I married and got pregnant, I wanted my firstborn child to be born here, but he stopped delivering babies at that time.
And he stopped in
You know, Tiffany was born in 72. So, I mean, he was still in business, you know, practicing, but he wasn't delivering babies at the time.
I know we have some information out there because someone wrote up a short history on it, and we also have done interviews with Red Stafford and some of the folks from the reunion, so that info is out there. So, besides the tooth extraction, was there anything else you had to come to that?
I had my tonsils removed here.
All right. Did they have to put you to sleep for that too?
Yes,
yes
they did. Yes, and my mom had she had like a facial paralysis once, Bell's palsy, and she was hospitalized here for that. My dad had some kidney issues. He was famous for kidney stones, and so he
Wait a minute,
was
how can somebody be famous for kidney stones?
he had several bouts of kidney stones.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah, Mom and Dad moved to Georgia, and he came up for a weekend to visit with me here, and he ended up having surgery. And
Here?
no, not here.
Okay.
Because this was not in operation at that time. But yeah, he started out having kidney stones removed here at this hospital.
Gotcha. Any other interactions that you remember while this was a operational hospital?
I became close friends with some other people who worked here, and who was like family or to Dr. Mathiesen's family. And I also lived next door to a farm that we had here.
So was he a gentleman farmer, or did he just?
He raised sheep.
Oh, raised sheep. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, Mom and Dad moved to Pittsburgh in 1965, and they bought the metal house, the Lustrong house, at the end of Credle Street. Where Dr. Mathiesen's barn in his farm area was right next door. So my brothers would run around over to the barn, just playing and so forth, and they found a leg over there one day.
Oh, wait a minute. What kind of a leg? A human leg?
Yeah.
In the barn?
It was in a pan in the barn.
Okay. This isn't like the fried green tomatoes movie. You don't know.
He, you know, I guess that was just, he had to amputate someone's leg, and I don't know how you would dispose of body parts like that, but he just happened to have the leg over there one day.
When they discovered the leg, was it in a case, or was it just?
No, it was just a white pan about that big, and just part of the leg laying there in the pan.
So when your brothers saw this, what was their reaction? Did they come running over saying "Mom," or did they stop going over to the doctor?
No, they told me about it.
Oh, they told you about it. Hey, did you get to see it?
I did.
Oh my gosh, it's kind of like, hey, let's bring in our sister. What was that short novella? Stand By Me. Yeah, let's go see the leg.
Yeah.
So was it just the three of you, or did the whole neighborhood, all the neighborhood?
I'm sure that they invited some of their friends as well.
So back in those days, if you had a leg hanging around, you were cool. See, I did not know this. I bet you didn't know this stuff either. I'm sorry. It just is funny. It's like, can you picture it? You go over to someone's house and there's a leg. But hey, being the doctor, that just makes total sense. Now, you mentioned that this is the main entrance, but there was also a side entrance.
Right. There's one to the side that you could go in, and then the steps led to the second floor. And as you walk into that door, I think the kitchen was on the right.
And when you say kitchen, was that a fully working kitchen?
Yes. They prepared all the meals for the patients.
Okay. So not only was it a clinic, but it was, as we mentioned, a hospital, so folks would come in here and stay the necessary amount of days to take care of themselves.
Right.
Was there any, do you know of any situations where the hospital was just over full, or people had to line up, or?
No, I can't say that I recall that.
Okay.
I mean, it might have happened, but I don't remember.
Was everything pretty much being able to be taken care of medically at the clinic, or if you had some other problems, did you have to go? What was the hospital situation outside of Chatham County?
I remember one of the times when my dad was hospitalized here. The kidney stones that he suffered from could not be removed, so he had to be taken to Watts Hospital over in Durham.
Okay.
Which is now the School of Math and Science in that building. And so, I'm sure that, like most doctors, if Dr. Mathiesen or Dr. Jakes couldn't deal with your issue, they would send you to another location to, have you cared for.
I'm just going to check to make sure this is, because I've learned from experience that I want to make sure this is all recording, and it is recording. Both are recording well, so hey, we're on a roll.
But they did x-rays here. They had a pharmacy.
Now, and again, with x-rays, today things are a lot more computerized, a lot more simpler. What was getting your x-ray like back in that day?
I don't know, because I don't recall ever being x-rayed here. But I just remember the room to the right as you would go down the hallway as you were heading towards the nursery and the operating room. That was where the x-rays were done.
You mentioned nursery. How big of a nursery?
Oh, what, about the size of this porch?
Really?
It
Okay.
was small.
Well, you probably, with the number of people in Pittsburgh, you probably
didn't need a very large one.
Didn't need a whole bunch. Did they have like a viewing window?
There was a glass window there. You could view the babies. Yes.
Oh, okay. And we were talking about the other things. You had X-ray machine. What else did you have in here?
They had the labs, and which was further down the hallway.
Okay.
And so they had a lab technician that would draw your blood for you. And so today you may have to go to a different location for that kind of work to be done, but it's all right here. See your doctor, get your meds, and go home.
When you had, did you have any labs done here, and how long was the turnaround in the labs?
I don't remember. I think it was fairly quickly though.
Okay. When you were in here, they had you sleeping a lot, didn't they?
Yeah.
Frances was good, but sometimes when something went wrong, they said, let's take her to the hospital and just put her to sleep, take care of it, and then shove her out the door. What kind of things that your brothers, again, your dad had the situation with the kidney stones, you had your tooth extraction situation. How about your brothers?
They were pretty healthy. I do recall once that one of my brothers, my oldest brother, he fell off the tractor on a Sunday afternoon and looked out and blood is everywhere. So he had to be brought to the doctor to have stitches in his head.
Oh, okay. So he fell off and got.
Yeah.
Right. Was he kind of screaming, or was he?
He was a pretty tough little boy, and he came running to the house. blood all over his face.
He didn't bring a leg with him, did he?
No.
Okay.
This is before that.
Before
That was before we moved to Pittsburgh.
You know, people are going to watch this, and the thing they're going to remember, oh yeah, Francis's brother saw a leg at the doctor's house. So, but speaking of the sheep that the doc had, what did he just raise them for food or wool?
I know that he sheared them because we'd be around from time to time when he was out shearing the sheep. So,
All right.
and I'm not sure if he, sold the sheep for the meat or what. But he was Seventh-day Adventist,
Okay.
so they didn't eat pork. So it's highly possible that he used some of the sheep for meat for his family.
So he would have lamb chops for dinner on Sunday.
Possibly.
Possibly. We don't know. Anything else we need to know from the hospital side of things?
Well, if you look at my birth certificate, you can see that there was a Dr. Bailey, who's the one who delivered me.
That's
So
Bailey, okay.
I don't ever remember Dr. Bailey personally. Dr. Mathiesen and Dr. James were the only two doctors that I recall.
So was it a two-man operation?
Yes.
And then about how many nurses and support staff do you remember?
I don't recall. I just remember a few of the nurses that was here. One was Mrs. Morgan, and she lived in the small white house down the street here that's occupied by the Arts Council now. And there was a Mrs. White and a Mrs. Thrift, Mrs. Mann that I had mentioned to you earlier. And some of the other people that I remember, there was a Naomi Wonder, and I think she was like my mom, who also worked here. She was like a nurse's assistant. And Mom was employed by the Kaiser-Roth hosiery mill, and but we, like I said, we coming here frequently. Mrs. Mathiesen talked to her one day and says, "Hey, we'd like for you to come to work here." And Mom says, "Well, I have absolutely no experience." She says, "You don't need any. We'll train you to do what you need to do." So she worked here for a few years before Mom and Dad moved away from Chattanooga down to Georgia. And eventually Mom and Dad moved to Florida. And she went to work at a hospital down there, and she was able to do that because she had the experience of working here as a nursing assistant. And I remember some of the other, I think the guy's name was Alonzo or something like. He was a tall black gentleman who worked here. And there was a Lacey Meadows that I recall that worked here. And also, here in the office was Mrs. Dark. She actually lived in a white house that was situated right across the street here.
Which is now the parking lot.
Now the parking lot. She and her son, Judson Dark, I think, might still live in the area. And Mrs. Thelma Poole, she and her husband ran a guest house, which is now Rosemary House. She worked here, and there was a Mrs. Arthurs who also worked here, and she and her husband owned Arthur's Men's Store. That was located up on Hillsborough Street, on the right-hand side. Just up front. I don't know what's in there now, one of the little shops. But it was up from what was Cooper Harris Ford.
Okay. You mentioned your mom worked at the mill. Where was that mill located? Was that the one in Siler City? Or?
No, it's Kaiser-Roth Hosiery Mill that was located here, that's behind First Citizens Bank.
Okay. That's right. Yeah, because there were several mills in the area, including the one in Bynum.
Right.
Which is interesting because a student from UNC I think it was Robert Dean Itali was his name, who's now, I think he teaches up in Pennsylvania, had written a story about it. Actually, that was his semester project, and he got to talk to a whole bunch of people from Bynum, and a lot of those people are no longer with us.
Right.
Because he wrote that, I think, back in 82 or 84.
Okay.
Got to talk to a lot of old timers. Yeah, and the reason I've been writing down these names is because you mentioned some of the folks that have worked here as nurses. I have a lead on a lady who had been here as a nurse. I don't have her name with me right now, but she said she'd be willing to, I heard from her, from someone else, that she'd be willing to sit down and talk about this as well from a nursing perspective.
Right.
She said she enjoyed working here.
Yeah.
So, and that's the sense I got from the reunion and just talking to all the folks that have been involved with the clinic, that they have had good experiences. Now again, not everything's good, but for the most part, everyone seems to be happy that they had this clinic here. Now when the doc shut down the nursery or the birthing portion of the clinic, where did people start going then?
I know for myself, I went to Sanford.
Okay.
And I think the majority of the people from the area did do that. And I'm sure that many went to Chapel Hill as well. But I chose Sanford.
Let me ask you this. Was childbirth at home popular back in the 50s and 60s or not?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay. She's like, hey, I was born here. I think I had my kid down in Stanford. So, yeah. Let's see. We've covered anything else we need to cover?
I can't think of it.
When the what was the community's reaction when the clinic closed down? We're gonna now move forward.
Where are we going to get health care?
Right.
Because this was basically the only place in town to go to a doctor. And I guess we got it all figured out though. But I mean, I had to take my children to Sanford to a doctor growing up. And, then I was an established patient in Sanford as well, but it was great that doctors decided to come back to Pittsburgh.
Right.
And it would be nice if doctors relocated to this particular location.
Well, I think the plans for it is it's not going to become a. Well, you know what? If a doctor wanted to rent the space, I guess they could. But I think the plan is to turn it into housing. And actually, I think Greg's also thinking about doing something with the rooftop if possible.
Yeah.
He seems to have this thing about rooftop because if it's
Seems so.
new two-story building, it's got a rooftop. Which actually, the nice thing about this area right here, including what they're doing with the SoCo project, is you've got a very nice view of the courthouse building. And I keep on stressing, I've also mentioned this to some of the town board members, it would be really neat if we could get the fire marshal to give us permission to blow off some fireworks, maybe from the church parking lot there, so that it would make for a great background and a great scenery. Because there is a lot of development going on in Chatham County, but this part of town is kind of unique because it's got a lot of history. When you were here and you were born in '54, I mean, this building's been around since before that time.
I don't recall the exact year that it was built, but I understand probably built the building.
Well, I'll check into that and find out about that. You don't have to Google it, and we'll get that information out there. So when Dr. Mathiesen sold the property, do you know who he sold it to? Because as the tax collector, she was a very nice tax collector, by the way. As a tax collector, you kind of have to keep track of that.
Right. Well, and I only really kept track of it if taxes weren't paid. So the good taxpayers we didn't have to worry too much about. But no, I don't recall who he sold it to at that point. He left town and went to Bryson City, and we continued to practice medicine in Bryson City. But I think he had a family connection to that area.
Did he leave the foot to your brothers?
No.
I'm not going to let that foot thing go because that's like, oh my gosh. Actually, it reminds me of the Christmas story.
Oh,
where,
yes.
where
The lamp.
the lamp fragile, but I think you don't want a lamp made out of someone's foot. It's bad. Let's talk about the tax problems that you had here. At that time, the building was subdivided into rental spaces.
Right.
When you came over to make the what's the proper term? You put it's not a lien, is it?
No, it was just an attachment of rents.
Okay, attachment of rent. So you went to each one of the
I went to
renters
right.
and said they need to. Did they have to write the checks over to you? Or
They wrote their rent checks to me.
Okay.
And I think even the landlord or the owner of this building had family who was renting out space here. So
Yeah, he was really popular after that was probably.
yeah. But I only had to do it once.
Okay, so after that one time.
I think it was.
Because just remember, although she was a very nice tax collector, she was still the tax collector. So, well, let me ask you this: if you don't mind going there, is how did you get involved with being the Chatham County? And you've been retired from tax collector position for how many years?
Since 2015.
2015. And how long were you the tax collector? A very nice tax collector.
I went to work in December of 1978. So I worked for the county for 36 and a half years. The last 3 years of my career, I was both the assessor and a collector.
So what did that additional position involve when you were the assessor?
That's making sure that properties are properly listed and assessed at the correct value. But my expertise area was definitely collections. And we had great staff at the county.
Yes, they did. They were very helpful. If you ever need anything, you could go in there, and the lines were short, except
In December.
Yes, because everybody wanted to get their taxes paid before the end of the year. But even then, you were staffed up. And, I didn't see any sour faces when I used to go there. I probably was there on good days.
Yeah, you were. Yeah. But before we became automated, we worked till midnight sometimes in January, usually around the 5th to the 6th of January, which is the
So
deadline.
you probably had little file cards and everything, did you not? Or how did that work before you became automated?
Well, we had individual bills
Right.
that was printed, and they had them in our little drawer, and we'd have to go pull out every one of the tax bills and write paid on it and so forth. And eventually we outsourced the collection for mail-in payments.
Right.
And so it was a collaboration between the bank and another company that would print all the bills for us and so forth, and we would mail it to a lot box. And the process that we would download the file every day.
What was the best part of the job?
The people.
When you say the people, you're talking about just your staff, or you're talking
Well,
about
both. I made a lot of good friends who were taxpayers, and very few really angry people. It's usually the ones who didn't pay, that you would have to take some action.
Now, when someone didn't pay, here you went and gave a notice that the folks had to turn the rent over to you. But if someone else didn't pay, what was the usual process?
Wage garnishment, and put a freeze on their bank account.
Now, if someone didn't pay property tax, you went for wage garnishment. Well, that's right.
We would do other things like wage garnishments or bank attachments before we would initiate a foreclosure. That was our last resort.
So you offered a whole bunch of steps before a foreclosure was necessary.
Right.
So folks had an opportunity to get things cleaned up.
Exactly.
Because yes, a lot of folks occasionally will have some kind of financial problem.
Yes. And we would work it out with them. If they promised to make a payment arrangement with us, we would honor that.
Well, that's one of the nice things about living in a community like Pittsburgh and Chatham County is that you, as you said, you get to meet a lot of nice. I think generally most people here in Chatham County, overwhelming percentage of people in Chatham County are very nice, very neighborly, and are willing to help each other out. And I don't know, are there HIPAA regulations or anything similar to that in the tax collection environment? But what was the best what was the best and possibly the most challenging encounter that you ever, or situation that you had in the tax office?
Well, there were a lot of challenges, but my most memorable thing that I did one day, one of the staff had work done at her house. She had her house remodeled, and I said, "Don't you need some landscaping business done?" She says, "Yeah, I probably do." I said, "We're going to take a little ride to a landscaping business that owes us some money."
Okay.
So we go in, and we said, "She's had her house remodeled, and now she wants landscaping done. Can we just look around and see what, kind of plants you have and so forth?" And so all along, we're going out and we're writing down VIN numbers and license plate numbers for every vehicle that we see there. So we had access to DMV records. So after we collected our data, we came back and found that, yes, this company does own all of these vehicles. So this was on a Friday afternoon. Monday morning, the sheriff and I visited that place, and the guy behind the counter, he said, "You look familiar to me." I said, "Yes, I was here shopping on Friday, but now I'm here to confiscate these vehicles to pay off the tax debt."
Wow. And how many vehicles did you land up with?
Probably got about 6. And one of their employees came back to grab more supplies in another pickup truck. So the sheriff was there with me, and I said, "Would you run a license plate check on that vehicle?" And he did. He said, "Yep, it belongs to the company as well." So the guy's about ready to get back in his truck. I said, "You can't take that truck back." "I've got to get back to work." I said, "Fine, call a cab. They can come and pick you up."
Call a cab? There was no cab company in Pittsburgh, is there?
Hey,
I don't think
that
so.
was his problem, not mine.
And there was no Uber back then either.
Right. So we confiscated it, and then little did I know, the guy also had a federal lien from the IRS. So the IRS guy came to pay me a visit. "I want the equipment that you confiscated." I said, "I don't think so." I said, "I got there first."
Right.
I said, "But I tell you what, I'm going to have a sale, and I anticipate having an overage in those funds." I said, "Why don't you go and apply for those at the clerk of court office?" So I got my $10,000, and I think we got a couple of thousand too to go against the federal debt that the man owed.
Now you said, did you confiscate 6 vehicles or 7? Because you said that one truck back came in with a truck, but you don't remember.
I don't recall. It was probably a total of 6 or 7.
So, and I guess he wasn't probably one of those happy customers of yours, was he?
No.
All right, so you've confiscated those vehicles, you put them up for sale. He didn't try to come up with the funds or anything like that. You just went ahead and
I sold them.
sold them.
Backhoe and trucks.
And so you got all your money. Chatham County got all their money thanks to this nice former tax collector, and the IRS got a little bit of what they. I love the fact that you basically told that IRS guy, "I got there first."
I did.
So it's kind of like, "Hey, buddy, I got there first, so I got first claims." That is interesting. Was this something that you planned out ahead of time, or was it just kind of like, "Hey, let's just go take a look"? Or the way I was thinking the story might go is you go over there, she would get the products, and instead of her writing a check to them, she would write it to the tax office. But you're there, no, we're getting all the VIN numbers, and we're, I guess, with that much money owned, you weren't going to buy that much. She wasn't going to buy that much landscaping stuff.
Right. This particular person was famous. I guess he knew what some of the laws were. He would change the name of his company frequently. So if I didn't find out that he had changed the name of the company, then I was out of luck for collecting property taxes. So I kept an eye on him. I said, if he does it again, I'm heading in there within 6 months so I can go after him as a new owner.
It sounds like you really enjoyed that, didn't you?
I did.
she can say that now because she's retired. But I'll tell you what, I want to get on the wrong side of Miss Wilson here. That is a great story. All right, so was that like your best story, or how about well, I guess it's a feel-good story because the county got their money and this guy tried to work the system and it just didn't work out that way because of Miss Francis. But was there any other nice stories that you'd like to share?
I was just reminded of this when I was going through some paperwork at home after I got resettled back in Pittsburgh recently. I remember one day I sent a nasty gram to a taxpayer, and he came in and he had lost his job, and I think he had some health issues and so forth, and I don't know what he said that convinced me that he was telling me the truth. And it touched my heart, and so I just opened up my checkbook and I paid his tax bill for it. I mean, it wasn't a lot of money, probably $50 or $60. And the guy was taken back by that. I mean, I couldn't do it for all of my taxpayers, but it was just something about this particular one that, grabbed me. And after he left, he sent Charlie Horn, who was the former county manager, a card and about what I had done for him. And so Charlie was gracious enough to give me the card.
Charlie retired a bunch of years ago, and I think he set up a farm. Was it a
He's up in he's in Virginia.
He's in Virginia. Okay. Yeah, a lot of us remember Charlie.
Great man.
I was going to say, you don't want people, just because she did this for someone else, do not call her and do not email her or do not text her saying, hey, Francis, could you pay this bill for me? Because you're not going to do it.
No, I'm not tax collector anymore.
I'm going to check this one. We're getting ready to wrap up here. I just want to make sure everything's going fine. Yes, it is. Oh, we got 6 people. Let's see, Mark Murphy's watching. We've got, let's see, Sharon Thomas, my sister and I were born there. The Mathiesens lived in the White House at the corner of Hillsborough and Lindsay Street. We lived on the other end of the street. They had 3 chickens, Marlon, Cindy, and they named their chickens. I wonder if he named a foot. No, we're not going there. So yeah, hey, thanks. And the thing about this is going to be available. Right, Cisco Kids were. See, somebody remembers who the Cisco Kids. They were the greatest. They stayed in the Blair Hotel, which is across the road. Sharon Thomas mentioned that they met the Cisco Kid when he was here. So I guess the doc did a good job. Hey, thank you for the comments. We're at about 45 minutes of taping, so we're going to work on getting this wrapped up because you've been more than kind to do this, and I love you sharing this information. You can share this with your brothers, and they'll probably laugh about the leg thing.
I'm sure they will, or they may kill me the next time they see me.
You may get an interesting Christmas gift this year because you can actually buy that Christmas Story lamp. So if you get that, you'll have to post a picture of it.
I will.
Guys, don't get her a lamp. She doesn't need that.
I don't need a lamp.
No.
I have no place in my small house for it.
That's right. She wants to keep her feet. So. Overall, your experience as the tax collector, it sounds like you got to meet a whole bunch of interesting and nice people. You kept the, Renee did a good job with her managing, Charlie managing, then the treasurer of the county did a pretty good job at keeping the county's fiscal situation even keeled. Yes, we get occasionally hit with tax increases, especially with the way property taxes have gone up recently, but you don't care because you're retired.
I do care because I have to pay taxes. So.
Yeah, do you believe what your house is worth now? Holy cow! Yeah, we had a live stream with Eric Williams at SoCo. We did it at noontime. That's the last time we're doing something on that patio at noontime during the summertime. Not a good idea. but I also learned to make sure that we bring water, so if we need to, we have it. How do you want to wrap this up? I don't have any additional notes. I appreciate you doing this. We learned a lot about the clinic here itself. We learned about a lot of what you were doing at the tax collector. We learned how your mom and dad, actually, you know what? We learned how your mom and dad, you don't have to answer this question because it's maybe beyond the scope of this conversation, but how did you and your husband meet?
Which one?
The one that you want to talk about. Well, this is all about good memories and good vibes.
Yeah, I was married twice.
Twice.
First to Johnny Wilson.
Okay.
He's the father of my children. And I was working at Henry's Restaurant here in town,
All right.
top of the hill. And Johnny would come in after his classes, and that's how we met. And he and I were married for 13 years. And after we divorced, I was single for about 8 years and married a gentleman from West Virginia who had relocated to Raleigh because he worked with IBM. And he and I were married for 18 and a half years before he passed away in 2011. And I had bought a house here in Pittsburgh, over near Pittsburgh Elementary, in 1990. And rented it out for a number of years, but after my husband passed away and I was still working, I decided just to use that as my secondary home and stay there, especially in December and January, and
Right.
cold and so forth. And then eventually I relocated back here from Raleigh as full-time and renovated my house and did a lot of the work myself, which I enjoy doing, carpentry and
What's the best project you've done remodeling on your home?
well, tearing out walls and building a deck. And I said I wanted to design my deck so that I could build it by myself.
How big? You built your deck by yourself?
I had a little bit of help, yes, but I did. I
Okay,
designed
what's a little bit of help?
someone used a nail gun for me, but I designed it.
Okay.
And,
How big is it? Square
it's
footage?
probably, it's a small deck. And I did it so I wouldn't have to build any rails, that we could just step right off of the deck and onto the ground.
Right, it had to be a
and,
certain, or below a certain
Yes,
height. Yeah.
and it passed inspection, so, and I got some guidance, great guidance from the building inspector.
Yeah, let me ask you about that rail thing, because my wife's grandparents and some of her family and her grandparents, parents, and some of her family are not into rails. They seem to like, hey, even the porch, I just want a porch without rails. Is that kind of old-fashioned, or why does some people seem to
I don't know, I
think
just didn't have the expertise of building the rail, so I just wanted to do it as simplistic as possible.
All right. Why'd you tear down the walls? You wanted more open?
Open space.
Okay.
I had an issue where I had a leak in a hose for my washing machine. I put 35,000 gallons of water on the floor in my kitchen.
Holy cow! You
Yeah.
got a big water bill that month, didn't you?
Thank God the town did reduce it for me.
Okay.
And but I do enjoy, doing things like that. And my second husband had a lot of good tools, so I was blessed to be able to have a chop saw and
Right.
table saws and things like that, where I've learned how to do certain woodworking projects that I enjoy.
Again, we're going into an area where you don't have to answer this question. But say, Gene, it's none of your business. Kids, grandkids?
I have 2 children from my first marriage.
Okay.
Tiffany Hancock, and she works over at Cooperative Extension, and she does podcasts and videos.
Yes, okay. See, now I put the connection
And
together.
she has 2 children, Robert and Andrew. Robert works at S&P's and has for a number of years. Andrew is a firefighter and an EMT. He works full-time as a firefighter and then a part-time, and he's all over the place. My son, John, he has 3 children. He also has a band, and recently all of his band jobs have been canceled due to rain.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
And hopefully they will have some events coming up out at Mosaic is one that had to get rescheduled.
Yeah, they're having those on Friday nights, and they've got a schedule out on their website. Plus, they do Twitter feeds on that as well.
Yeah, and his son John Jr. he works out at Mosaic, and then he has two younger girls. Kelly's 13, and youngest is 10.
So you're going to be approaching that great grandmother phase.
Well, actually, my daughter's son and his wife are expecting their first child, so I guess I'm going to be a great grandmother in November.
And again, you don't have to answer this question, but are you back on the dating scene? Are you doing Tinder, swipe right, swipe left?
Yes. In the relationship with the man, it's been almost 9 years.
Okay.
I think it was the older folks.
Okay.
So, yes, he's from Philadelphia. Moved to Raleigh in the early 80s. And I'm the fourth Francis in his life. So, his first girlfriend was Francis. A second girlfriend years later was Francis.
Oh, you never had a chance. As soon as he found out your name was
he
Francis.
He moved to Raleigh, got married, and was married to a Francis. And then I came along. And that's exactly my opinion. I says, I'm surprised you came back for a second date. And it's been almost 9 years now.
You really didn't have to answer that question. My wife kicks me on the table because I do this at weddings all the time. You're sitting at a wedding, at a table wedding, no one's talking, everybody's like, hey, how'd you two meet? And it's interesting sometimes when the girlfriend and boyfriend or the spouses, their stories don't quite match up. But I am happy for you.
I'm happy for
9 years.
Yeah.
Well, they say the fourth Francis is the best Francis.
And there's a few Francises that follow.
They would just practice Francis.
There you go. That's what I'll tell him. And I tell him, he calls me F4.
F4.
F4. How's that? Yes, F4 ever.
F4. You added the forever part?
Yeah.
F4 ever. Did you even suspect we'd be talking about fourth Francis?
No, I didn't.
I don't think so. But this is why I enjoy doing this kind of stuff. Our community's close enough and small enough that this kind of stuff, you know what, it may not be a big deal in Raleigh, but you all learned a little bit more about F4 forever. Let me just skirt off the issue. You mentioned your son was working at S&T.
A grandson.
Your grandson.
Mm-hmm. And my son did as well when he was in college.
Was he working there when Jean passed away?
My grandson was, and it really upset the family.
I know, because I had gone by there when they were during the pandemic, went in and talked to him, and Jean was repainting, and they took the opportunity of the pandemic to do some work in S&Ts. If you haven't been to S&Ts, you need to go to S&Ts so you can meet F4's grandson. But
he's called Chef.
Is he the chef?
Cooks, yes.
Does he?
Mm-hmm.
Is he responsible for the lasagna? Because I guess that.
I think Steve does that.
Because that's the old recipe from Chapel Hill's.
Rathskeller.
Rathskeller.
Yeah.
And if you hadn't been to the Rathskeller, you missed an opportunity because it's no longer there. But it was a unique kind of restaurant environment.
Didn't they try to reopen it?
I think they did, but I don't know what happened with it. I don't think it's ever
it would
been
never be the same.
Exactly, it's never been the same. We sound like a bunch of old people.
We are.
We are.
Or I am.
Well, I'm getting close to there, but the alternative is worse. So, can you share a little bit about because I didn't. It's one of those things. It's a family thing, but it was also a community thing. A lot of folks knew the family. A lot of folks knew
I've
Jean.
known Jean forever.
And
we were in school together, and we feel like we're more family than just friends. And
he paid his taxes on time, though.
Absolutely.
Okay, you know that.
Absolutely. And he would let me write the check. And my daughter has a scanner, so she can hear emergency calls.
Right.
And she called me really late at night, and she said, "Mom, something's going on at Jean Gene's house, and when she called me back later, she heard that he didn't make it, and she said, "Mom, I hate to tell Robert, who was her grandson." I mean, because they were so close,
Right.
and it just really, really upset him. I mean, the whole town was really upset with that loss.
S&T's is one of the places you could go into, and if you had a bad day, you had an ice cream or something to eat, and by the time you walked out, you were in a pretty good mood.
I remember when they first opened, Gene and Vicki invited all the Wilsons to come as a trial run to see how it was going to work out.
Right.
And there's, I think it's Clint's Hot Dog or something that's named after one of our family members. And so, you know, we've been there from the beginning, basically, for S&T's. Hope it continues to last for many more years.
Yeah, I was sad when I heard that. Paul Mccoy also passed away recently, and there's been several other folks. I was talking to Cindy, the mayor of Pittsburgh, earlier. She was walking her dog. One of the projects I'm thinking about starting maybe before the end of the year is a project called the Humans of Chatham County. There's a site called the Humans of New York. It's not something I'm planning to do by myself, but I think we can get a whole bunch of people involved to do stuff like you and I are doing right now, where there's a lot of stories to be told. And I want it to be open to everybody, not just folks our age, but kids, you know. Interview, if your grandmother goes to church on Sundays and she wears a different hat every day, interview her, show us her hat collection. And I don't care if you've been in this county for generations or you just moved to this county, there's a lot of good stories to be told. And I appreciate Ms. Frances Wilson taking the opportunity to talk about the Mathiesen. Did I get it right?
Got it right.
Mathiesen, finally. Yes. Took me an hour to get it right, but I got it right. Mathiesen Clinic. Because this place has a lot of memories. Actually, I think at the reunion, we got a picture of a family of four. It might have been two sisters, two brothers, whatever. There was four of them that were born here. And for the reunion, they made up a shirt that said, "Hey, we were all born here." And that's the kind of place Chatham County is. Yeah, every place has their bad stuff, but there's a whole bunch of good stuff in there. And Miss Frances Wilson, even though she was the tax collector, was one of the nicest tax collectors you ever run into, because who else would you know that would pay someone's tax with her own check? And remember, do not ask her for money, because her boyfriend would come after. All right.
But he's in Ireland right now.
Oh, is he in Ireland?
Okay.
Are you FaceTiming with him all the time?
A little bit.
A little bit?
He just left yesterday, so.
Oh, how long is he gone for?
He'll be gone for a week.
Okay. And he didn't take you along?
I was not invited, but that's okay.
Oh, no, that's fine. My wife and I took her to Paris and London for 10 days to celebrate one of our anniversaries, and my kids are a week. Why aren't we going to go back to them? Because Mom and I are going. You're staying. You guys can pay for your own trips. Actually, it's cheaper to fly to Ireland if you get a good deal than it is to fly to the West Coast.
Wow.
So just remind him about that for Christmas.
Well, he has taken me to Italy before.
Italy? Where have you been to Italy?
We went to Florence and to Rome.
Okay.
And it was a great time.
Did you like Florence better than Rome?
We did.
Yes, I've heard that a lot. And to tell you what, my wife and I were supposed to go pre-pandemic, and then the week before they shut everything down, because I have a friend who works for the CDC, and he said, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it." Then the week before he goes, "Yeah, they're shutting things down." And we were supposed to go again in May, and my wife goes, "We're not going." I go, "Why not?" And she goes, "Because of the Russians." I go, "What about the Russians?" She goes, "The war with Ukraine." I go, "The Russians do not want to take over Italy. They do not. If they're going to go anywhere, it's Ukraine and Poland. That's the political truth." And then the thing is, I'm following people on Facebook, and there's at least 3 families in Chatham County who've been to Italy and Rome. But she's got it all planned out. I think we're going to spend a couple of days in Rome, and then she wants to do the wine country.
Go to Siena.
Siena, okay.
Oh yes. That was our favorite.
And then she also wanted to make sure we made a stop in Venice. Why?
Yeah.
Because Venice is Venice. So, but you had a good time at that trip?
We had a great time.
All right. So what's your next trip planned for?
Because I'm spending a lot of time in Florida right now, it's hard to plan, but we are just going to take a few days and go to New Jersey to visit family up there.
You know, when I think vacation, I think New Jersey.
We're going to go to Wildwood.
Oh, Wildwood, okay. Actually, Wildwood's pretty nice.
Yes.
Just
And take the ferry over from Lewis, Delaware, over to Cape May.
Okay. So you are going to make a nice event out of it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to check because is there anything else you want to say
I don't
before
think
we wrap
so.
this up?
I think we've covered most
I
of it.
think we've covered up. Let me make sure everything's going fine. Shoot, we still have people watching live, which is good. Okay.
On a Saturday morning.
On a Saturday morning.
When they could be
They have
sleeping.
nothing else to do except I hope you're drinking coffee. Look, we're going to wrap this up. I want to thank Ms. Frances Wilson for doing this. This is on Facebook live stream. I also have another camera that will go out on YouTube. We'll have that out there. I will post information about this on our Chatham Chat List page. And also it will go out on the Chatham Chat List probably for Monday. Please watch it. Please provide feedback. I had a good time talking to you.
I
I
had a
may
great
ask you
time.
some uncomfortable questions. That's just me. This is not an interview. It's a conversation. I've known Miss Frances back when we used to do print version, a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm glad she offered to share information, and I appreciate her bringing her birth certificate. I'm glad to know that she wasn't 90 inches when she was born.
There's some names of people that I think I mentioned.
You know what? When we finish up, I'll take a picture of that. I will try to hook up with that nurse that had worked in the clinic, and we'll try to have another conversation with her. If you have any ideas or suggestions as to who else I can just sit down and talk to, again, conversation, let me know, email me, text me, and that's it. I'm going to wrap it up. And